God the Lord says, the one who created the heavens, the one who stretched them out, the one who spread out the earth and its offspring, the one who gave breath to its people and life to those who walk in it. I, the Lord, have called you for a good reason. I will grasp your hand and guard you and give you a covenant to the people as a light to the nations, to open blind eyes, to lead the prisoners from prison and those who sit in darkness from the dungeon. I am the Lord, that is my name. I don't hand out my glory to others or my praise to idols. The things announced in the past, look, they've already happened, but I'm declaring new things before they even appear. I tell you about them. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Good morning, my MDUMC family. I hope it's okay that I'm over here. Learned something over the last 10 years is that pulpits are really big for little people. And I actually would like to think about this today as a family meeting. So I want to get a little closer to you this morning. I have missed you. It's so great to see you. And excuse me for that moment there. Had to run back up here. Dean and I and Elizabeth are so excited to have the opportunity to be with you. I have been counting down the days for this moment. Gives me a chance to tell you how you have shaped and formed me in more significant ways than you will ever even imagine. How you just ushered me through these growing stages of our lives. You raised me in ministry. You helped us raise our daughter, and you have really nurtured us in important times in our lives. There are not many days that go by that I don't think about you, and I want to tell you, I talk about you a lot. Because you helped me in so many ways. You helped me face the future unafraid, knowing that God was with me. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been afraid along the way many times, certainly in the last 2 years. But you taught me to be confident and courageous, especially when things seemed uncertain and really messy. I entitled this sermon, Living in the Cone of Uncertainty. Those of us who live in the hurricane world know what that means. But it is, if I ever write a book, that's my title. Now, I've not gotten very far, but my good friend who is a writer says that half the work is coming up with the title of your book. So I'm going to consider that I'm halfway there. I've got a title, Living in the Cone of Uncertainty. These past 10 years while living in Louisiana, living in the cone of uncertainty has been a great teacher. I've learned more than I would ever imagine and probably even ever care to learn during this time. I've learned about resilience. I've learned to hope when hope didn't even seem at all possible. I learned to have a vision for a future when the future appeared to be pretty dark. Now, I still remember, though, the final hymn of my final Sunday here, standing right down there, and we sang, Be Thou My Vision. You sent me off with these words, Be Thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that Thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, Thy presence my light. You sent me off with those words. The most important thing I learned from you is what has helped me most in my ministry as a bishop, and that is vision. Not the vision of my eyes, but the vision of my heart. You taught me to have heart vision. Author and speaker and inspirationalist Barbara Johnson says that faith is seeing light with your heart when all your eyes see is darkness. You know, far too often, and especially in these past 2 years, and still today, we've had our eyes just set on screens and news feeds. We gaze at words and images that don't speak back to us. We see things through our own myopic, tunneled vision that speaks into our own echo chambers. But friends, the gospel calls us to so much more. So much more. The gospel calls us to stop seeing with just our eyes and instead see with our heart. And in order to see with our heart, we have to be able to be in community with one another. I love what Antoine Saint-Exupéry, the author of The Little Prince, says. One sees clearly only with the heart. Anything essential is invisible to the eyes. Now, take you back a little in time. Remember the dress a few years ago? I think we have an image of it. Some said the dress was gold and white, and others said the dress was blue and black. And by the way, if you've been dying to know, the dress, they say, is actually blue and black. Vision scientists, yes, there is such a thing, have been studying the dress for years. So I was doing a little research about vision, and an excerpt from this research popped up. Even outside of vision scientists, they say, most people just assume everyone sees the world in the same way, which is why it's awkward when disagreements arise. It suggests that one party is either ignorant, malicious, has an agenda, or is crazy. We believe that what we see with our own eyes, more than almost anything else, which may explain the feuds that occurred when the dress first struck and scientists lacked a clear explanation for what was happening. Fascinating, isn't it? And also familiar in these days. Because sometimes what you see is because of who you are and how you are formed. I was fortunate to be formed here with you. Sometimes what you see depends on where you're standing. And sometimes what you see depends on what others tell you you should see. It might also be like when you walk into a dark room and sometimes it just takes a minute or two for your eyes to adjust. My friends, we have to see, like really, really see with our hearts, not just our head and even our eyes. Sometimes we settle for what we know and what we see with our eyes and not what is possible. Now, because it's hardly ever a Cynthia Harvey sermon without something from Father Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr refers to third eye seeing. Third eye seeing, he says, is the way the mystics see. Third eye seeing happens whenever, by some wondrous coincidence, our heart space, our mind space, and our body awareness are all simultaneously open and non-resistant. Rohr calls this presence. It's experienced as a moment of deep, deep, deep interconnection. Rohr says that it is never irrational, but is trans-rational, what Dionysius called super essential knowing. I think the prophet Isaiah is pulling us to that trans-rational way of seeing, of third eye seeing, or super essential seeing, super essential vision. God is declaring new things before they ever even appear. Now, and if you were to turn the page to Isaiah 43, the prophet presents this very idea in the form of a question. Look, I'm doing a new thing. Now it sprouts up. Don't you recognize it? Or my favorite translation says, can you not even perceive it? And I want to say, nope, can't see it. Can't go there. Don't know it. I can't see it. Yet, here's the God that is declaring new things before they ever even appear, before we can ever see them. I love what Native Americans, the Iroquois in particular, call the seventh generation principle. The decisions we make today, they say, should result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. Now, my number one strength finder is futuristic. I'm always coming to you from the future. But I cannot even begin to perceive 7 generations into the future, or the future that God sees. But here's the God that created the heavens, the one who stretched them out, the one who spread out the earth and its offspring, the one who gave breath to its people, a life to all who walk on it. This is the God who's declaring new things before they ever even appear. I've created everything, God says, heaven, earth, flowers, water, even people, even you. And I've not only created you, but I've taken you by the hand, whether you knew it or not, felt it or not, want it or not, like it or not. You are a gift to the world from me. I have called you for good reasons, says the Lord. A light to the nations, a light to those who live in darkness. You are a light in a very dark world. You are to bring sight to the blind, release to the captives. Here the prophet just starts to give a nod to the Gospel of Luke. The Spirit of the Lord is upon you because the Lord has anointed you. He has sent you to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim release to the prisoners, recovery of sight to the blind, to liberate the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Friends, this is God's vision for the kingdom. This is God's vision for the United Methodist Church, and this is God's vision for Memorial Drive United Methodist Church. God's vision for us is that we live a life of purpose, a life of promise, a life of hope, a life of innovation, of curiosity and creativity, a life of vision, a life for all of God's people. Don't settle for anything less. Because God is calling you and me to so much more than even is. God is calling us to something that has not even yet appeared. Let me slow down a minute because I can hear you thinking. Or as my communicator always says, I hear what you're cooking. But you're saying, Bishop Harvey, Cynthia, things are so uncertain. They're unknown. The world has gone to, you let me say that, you forgive me. The world has gone to hell in a handbasket. First there was COVID, and then more COVID, and more COVID, and there's still COVID. And even before that, we were experiencing decline in the United Methodist Church. And then there was and still is division in the church. There are new expressions of Methodism popping up all over the place. We experience a contentious election in the United States. We experience political turmoil across the world. In the United States, we watched the siege of the Capitol on January 6th in disbelief. Racism has continued to infect our communities. Persons of color are being killed at an alarming, disproportionate rate. Mental and spiritual health challenges are unparalleled. Jobs have been lost at a rate not experienced in most of our lifetimes. Travel is harder and more expensive than ever. The supply chain was stalled and has not yet returned to normal. There's a war in Ukraine like most of my generation has never experienced. We've had 3 postponements of General Conference. Rumors are flying rampant. Untruths are being told. Yet, what we know is that in all of this, God is with us and sustains us for the facing of another day, another tragedy, another challenge, another complex situation that seems insurmountable. And we know that all manner of things shall be well. Now, a few weeks ago, I introduced the Council of Bishops to my Tia Cuca for my last president's address. I've been thinking and talking a lot about her lately. I hear her all the time these days. Tia Kuka and I would sit on her floral velvet sofa in her living room, the one with the yellow and brown flowers on it. And we would sit there and, we would sit and watch the news. It was usually Walter Cronkite. We would watch it on this small little black and white television that was on a tiny little wooden table over in the corner. And Tia Kuka would release this heavy sigh. And she'd hold me a little closer. And she'd say, "Ay, mija, what is the world coming to?" I hear her more and more today as we watch the news with horror as children are killed in an elementary school. I think of the parents whose sons and daughters didn't come home that day and throw their backpack on the sofa and ask for a snack. I recently listened to the congressional hearings, and I wept listening to one parent after another tell their story. Friends, in what universe is it okay for a child to take blood from her dead friend, put it on herself so that the shooter thinks that she's dead? On what planet, what universe, where? Or what about the grandmother who never made it out of the grocery store in Buffalo, New York with her eggs for breakfast the next morning? Or the hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where doctors and nurses who care for the injured became victims themselves. But you know the stories. They go on and on and on. And they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to. It's hard to see hope. Some days it's even harder to even imagine hope. But I've been asked that question a lot lately. Where do you see hope? In the midst of the chaos, some we cannot control and a lot that we have created, in the midst of it all, God is at work. I see hope when I'm with people like you. You've always been and continue to be an amazing congregation. That's why I'm talking about you, all the places where I go. You're making sure that children are safe, that they are fed. Children are thriving in school because of you. Those suffering from mental health crisis or addiction and homelessness, a broken immigration system, have found help here. You continue to be the body of Christ in extraordinary ways. God continues to work in and through you in ways that seem impossible to most people. My good friend and mentor always reminds me that God's middle name is surprise. Surprise. And it says right here in this book that God, who created heaven, earth, everything, and everybody in it, is still doing new things. Surprise, surprise. God is still doing new things, things that we have not even yet seen. And God has seen you, has called you to be the body of Christ, to bring people together, not tear them apart. This is what it means to be the body of Christ. Now, friends, hear the good news. The United Methodist Church is not dead. We have life in front of us, a life filled with hope and possibility, a life where the vision of a new heaven and a new earth will live itself out in you and me. We have the opportunity to be the body of Christ for a world that needs to understand the incomprehensible love of God. I believe in the United Methodist Church, and I believe in you. Now, this may sound familiar if you've been listening or watching what I have been saying and writing, because I've said it before. And I'm going to say it again and again and again and again every chance I get. I believe in the United Methodist Church, and I believe in you, MDUMC. I know you and know that you will continue to be the people of God that boldly and courageously tell the story of a church that is big enough for the left, the right, and everything in between. Now, I'm just warning you, I'm going to get a little bishopy on you here. We cannot be a traditional church or a progressive church or a centrist church. We cannot be a gay church or a straight church. Our churches must be more than echo chambers made in our own image, arguing with each other while neglecting our central purpose. Friends, children are dying in Uvalde and we're over here arguing. We've got to be more than echo chambers made in our own image. We, all of us, bishops, clergy, laity, we are people that steward the past. We have stewarded the present, and we must steward the future of the United Methodist Church. And no one knows that better than you. And friends, you matter. Every single one of you matter. You matter to the kingdom. You matter to the United Methodist Church. You matter. Now, I'm going to get really personal now. You matter to me. You matter to me. I have watched and I have witnessed many of you stand in this very chancel as this church baptized and confirmed you and your children. Some of you were married in this very spot. This is the church that helped you raise your children and buried your loved ones. I've witnessed and walked this journey with many of you. I am a bishop of the United Methodist Church and will always be. I'm responsible to lead the church that ordained me and consecrated me to this office. Now, many of you were at my ordination. I don't know if you remember, First United Methodist Church, the West Campus. The choir loft was all MDUMC choir. The congregation was mostly all MDUMC people because I think there were hardly seats for anybody else. Some of you were there the day of my consecration as a bishop. Some of you watched and listened from afar. I think I heard Sarah Smith cheering all the way to Oklahoma City before she got in the car to drive all the way to Oklahoma City. The United Methodist Church, Mary, Dean, and me, you, my MDUMC family, have walked with us in times of trial. You've celebrated with us in times of joy. You've grieved with us and helped us bury our loved ones. The United Methodist Church baptized our daughter, and she was confirmed right over here, right over here. You helped us raise her. So many of you have been a part of our life. And as wonderful as that is, it's not about us, about the Harveys, because you can tell that story in your own words over and over and over again. You see, this is about our connectedness as a people of God and the surprises of the Spirit that have been woven into the fabric of our lives. Our best witness is to love each other as Christ loves us, to show the world the supernatural power of the Holy Spirit to bring us together despite our differences. This is what it means to live out the gospel. That's what it looks like to be a people of hope, a people who are inspired and propelled by the Holy Spirit. This is what it means to be the United Methodist Church, a church where all have a home, whether they are black, white, brown, Asian, or anything else, young, old, gay, straight, whether they are broken or not, or whether they have their stuff together or not, whether they consider themselves liberal, evangelical, progressive, traditionalist, middle of the road, conservative, centrist, or something else. Do not let anyone tell you anything otherwise. There is a home for all in the United Methodist Church. So I invite you to be passionate and resolute about that. Speak with clarity and certainty like I know you have always done. Don't disparage one another. Be guided by grace and be crystal clear and laser focused. Memorial Drive United Methodist Church is part of the United Methodist Church that is founded on a Wesleyan theology of grace, anchored in Scripture and based in the life and teachings of Jesus Christ and the continuing movement of the Spirit. Friends, refuse to accept anyone saying anything otherwise. Be a people of hope, people who inspire hope, trusted in God who has created and is creating, who makes all things new that are even yet to appear. This is hard, hard work, and it is sacred, sacred work. So I want to leave you with this final word from Isaiah 5, verse 6. I, the Lord, have called you for a good reason. I've called you and you and you and you and you for a good reason. Amen.